All right, welcome to Biomolecules Part 1, Carbohydrates and Lipids. Guiding questions are, what are the functions of the four biomolecules? And how are the functions of the four biomolecules different? Make sure to get those down in your Cornell notes. All right, the four biomolecules of life. Biomolecules and macromolecules are something we refer to that mean the same thing. The four biomolecules are carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. They all have monomers, mono meaning one, mer meaning part, so one part. That's like the single building block of each individual macromolecule. So the monomer of carbohydrates is sugar or glucose, a single sugar, so a monosaccharide. The monomer of lipids or fats is a fatty acid. The monomer of proteins is an amino acid. And the monomer of nucleic acids is a nucleotide. Okay, then your function of carbohydrates store quick energy and structural material, such as cellulose in plant cell walls. Lipids or fats store long-term energy, help form membranes like the phospholipid bilayer of all cell membranes, and steroids. Proteins help with enzymes or catalysts, which increase the chemical reaction rate. Structural material, again, they help with transport things through the phospholipid bilayer. Those are called your transmembrane proteins. And peptides. A polypeptide is just a fancy word for a protein chain. And then, of course, your nucleic acids store genetic information. That's your DNA and your RNA. Okay. Proteins, your hair. Lipids are your fat cells. And an example of a carbohydrate would be a potato or a candy bar. All right, so organic chemistry is the study of all compounds that contain bonds between carbon atoms. Macromolecules, as I told you in the Murder in a Mill lab, are large molecules made from thousands of smaller molecules. Here's a few examples of some carbon-based organic molecules at the bottom. All right, so small molecules are called monomers. Monomers link together in rings, straight or branched chains to form polymers. Okay, so again, the monomer is like a single brick in a wall, if you're building a brick wall. And when you stack multiple monomers together, it makes your polymer. All right, dehydration synthesis is the process of joining two or more molecules together following the removal of water. Hydrolysis is the process of breaking polymers apart. Again, dehydration synthesis is the process of joining. Synthesis means to make. So you're joining two or more molecules together following the removal of water. So dehydration means removal of water, synthesis, making something. So you're joining two molecules after you've removed water. Hydrolysis is the process of breaking apart polymers. Feel free to examine those pictures there. All right, organic compounds or biomolecules are classified into four groups: carbohydrates, lipids, nucleic acids, and proteins. Carbohydrates are made up of CHO, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, in a 1:2:1 ratio. So for every one carbon and oxygen, there will be 2 hydrogen. All right, examples are glucose, sucrose, cellulose, and starch. If you notice, all of these, except for the starch, of course, because that's a complex carbohydrate, ends in -ose. Anytime you see something ending in "-ose," it's a sugar or a carbohydrate. Again, the monomer is a mono, meaning one, saccharide. Saccharide simply means sugar. Put that in your notes. Saccharide, sugar, saccharide, sugar. Mono, one. Di means two, and poly, many. So you have the polymers are disaccharides, two sugars, or polysaccharides, many sugars. All right, carbohydrates are found in fruits, veggies, pasta, rice, breads, and sweets. Their function, again, this is super important, their function is quick energy. So your starches and your sugars, it gives you quick, fast energy that you need right away. That's why, like, when you eat a candy bar, you get a real quick rush, but what comes after that is that really bad crash because it's quick energy. It's not meant for long term. Structure of the carbohydrates. Plants have cellulose in the cell walls for strength and rigidity. Plants store excess sugar in the form of starch. And animals, such as ourselves, store excess sugar in the form of glycogen. That's why diabetes is such a hard disease to overcome, because it has to do with lack of our body producing the right amount of insulin and glycogen, depending on the type of diabetes. All right, carbohydrates have extra sugar is stored as complex carbohydrates known as starches. So that extra sugar or glycogen is stored as starches. Monosaccharide, a single sugar molecule such as glucose, galactose, milk, which is in milk, and fructose, which is in fruits. So those are all monosaccharides, or single, okay? And your disaccharides, which is two molecules linked together. A polysaccharide is many saccharides joined together. Glycogen, which is an animal starch released from your liver when your glucose blood runs low. And cellulose, the plant starch, which is tough and flexible, major component of wood, paper, and cell walls, which are only found in plants. All right, our second biomolecule that we're going to talk about today is lipids, or also known as fats. So make sure you put that there. Lipids or fats. Fats are oils, waxes, steroids, your phospholipid bilayer, which is found in every cell membrane of every living organism. Butter, fried foods. So you have compounds made mostly from CHO, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay. All biomolecules have the compounds CHO, all four of them. All living organisms have CHON, which I'll explain that, but all biomolecules, just all biomolecules have CHO, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. They're not, fats or lipids are not soluble in water. That means they don't dissolve. That's why when you put vegetable oil on top of water, it floats. Okay, you can see they don't mix. Oil and water don't mix because oil is a fat. The monomer is a fatty acid chain, and the polymers are triglycerides. Many lipids are formed when glycerol molecules combine with compounds called fatty acid chains. When this happens, it kind of looks like a railroad track, the chemical makeup. All right, the functions is to store energy for long term. It builds cell membranes. So the cell membrane is composed of a phospholipid, bilayer, meaning two layers. So it's got two layers. The outside layer, right down here, and then the inside layer. So you've got this head, and then you've got a tail here. So you've got the lipids on the outside and then the fatty acid tail. Okay, they help to work as chemical messengers in steroids and a waterproof coverings, like waxy outer layer on plants, on the leaves. So these are things that help. They also have protein molecules inside them, embedded in them, protein channels. These proteins that are embedded inside this phospholipid bilayer help to transport molecules in and out of cells. But that's, again, a function of some proteins. They're called transmembrane proteins, and we'll get a little more into that when we talk about proteins in our next lesson. So we have 3 different types of fats or lipids. We have saturated, unsaturated, and polyunsaturated. Sorry. So saturated is carbon atoms in a lipid fatty acid chain is joined to another carbon atom by a single bond, the maximum number of hydrogens. Unsaturated, at least one carbon-carbon double bond in a fatty acid, so that's like olive oil. Okay. Polysaturated is fatty acids contain more than one double bond, so cooking oils such as corn, sesame, canola, and peanut oils. All right. Excuse me, sorry, I didn't mean to hit that. So that's going to be it for today. We'll continue on our next lesson with proteins. Be sure to finish filling in your fill in the blank. Don't forget to work on your biochemistry vocabulary and your Amoeba Sisters Ed puzzle. See you in class.